In this video, we're going to preview UConn versus Notre Dame. This will be a good matchup that I've been looking forward to since it was announced last year. I mean, they always play. But still, in the video, I'm not sure if AZ is going to be playing or not. I'm going to go through matchups with AZ in it and without her as well. We'll go through Notre Dame's lineup and sort of things to look for in this game that I think will be keys to the outcome. But as always, before we start, if you enjoyed the content, then please consider subscribing. Almost close to 10K. And as well, give the video a like if you deem it worthy. In addition, your poison is always welcome. All right, let's get into this. So some of the shine of this matchup has been taken away by injuries. So UConn, obviously, it's unclear if AZ Fudd will be playing, and she was starting to ramp up to a really good level of play, and then she suffered the knee injury versus Louisville, and it's unsure if it's serious or not. And even if it isn't serious, you would expect UConn to be very cautious with her. Notre Dame has also been decimated by injuries. So Maddie Westbelt's out with a foot injury, and they're saying January return. I'm still unclear on that. I wonder if she will wind up redshirting. By the way, Ledger Walker of UCLA, she's decided to redshirt for her knee and come back in 25-26. And I could see Westbelt, if that foot's not totally right, versus trying to rush it, taking the extra season to really get it right to set her out for the WNBA draft. The other big that they've lost is Kylie Watson, the center who's out with an ACL injury. In addition, in the transfer portal, they brought in Liza Carlin. She's been out with a left foot injury. The other one, KK Bransford, she has redshirted due to an injury as well. So Notre Dame, usual starting five is Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo, Sonia Citron, Leah Tui King, and Kate Caval. King has also come to Notre Dame from the transfer portal. She is 6 foot and she's putting up good numbers, 13 points, 10 rebounds. Her game is a lot like Anissa Morrow in terms of she's not big, but she plays almost like a big man's game. Like, she's tough on the boards and can play power forward, even though she's slightly undersized at 6 foot. She really does most of her scoring inside and in the mid-range. She can't shoot from 3. The other new player to the starting lineup is Kate Caval. She's a freshman, and she's obviously been forced into the starting lineup due to all of the injuries to Westbelt and Watson, and she's held up well versus USC. I thought she outplayed Kiki Arief and Marshall, and overall she's giving Notre Dame what they need. She's had her up and downs, which you expect from freshmen. In the game versus TCU, she struggled at times versus Sedona Prince just due to her size, and in that TCU game, she got in a bit of foul trouble in the late third quarter, which changed that game a bit, and that's the problem with Notre Dame. They just don't have any front court depth, so if Caval gets in foul trouble, they really have to go small and put King at the center spot. Now, the remaining 3 players in the starting lineup, so Sonia Citron, they do most of the heavy lifting, but Citron, she's more of a solid player. In my mind, she plays a lot like Caroline Ducharme, or what Ducharme could be if she was healthy. She just is really steady, solid, can shoot from outside, guard big players. Yeah, just a real steady player. And then obviously you have their flashy guards. So Olivia Miles has returned very successfully from her ACL injury. Now, remember, she injured her knee in Feb of 23, so she's had a long recovery time. She's about 15 to 18 months removed from that injury, and she came into the season ready to play. And as well, she did a good job while she was out. She's worked on her shot. It seems pretty obvious she's worked on her shot, as now she can hit 3-pointers. Previously, she's never shot over 30% from 3, but now currently this season she is shooting 48%. Now, this is only 8 games, but so far it's looking good. She's been 17 of 35 from 3. The other backcourt star is Hannah Hidalgo, who's only 5'6", and she's a terror. She reminds me of the Tasmanian Devil, as she just terrorizes teams, running around everywhere, getting steals. It seems like she plays with a chip on her shoulder, and I understand why. She's only 5'6", so she's probably been hearing about how she's too short her whole life, and she just tears into people and loves the personal matchups. Like, she played well last year against UConn, seemed to take that matchup very personal. As well, when they played USC this year, I don't know if she was motivated by Juju winning Freshman of the Year. I thought Hannah Hidalgo had a really good case last year with the efficient numbers that she put up, I thought they potentially should have been freshman of the year, but she played quite well in that game, and she seems to flourish when the big games are happening. Like she likes the spotlight. Now, one of the big questions coming in for Notre Dame this year was how was Miles and Hidalgo going to play together? I had visions in my mind it would look like the Rockets, and when I say that, it's not good. I had visions of it being much like James Harden and Russell Westbrook because Miles could not shoot very well in previous seasons. I was just like, this is not going to work because they both need the ball in their hands, and only Hidalgo can shoot and only Harden could shoot. But actually, with Miles having her three-point shot sorted out, this has been much like, in my mind, looking more reminiscent of Harden and James Paul. So they just seem to alternate. Whoever gets the ball takes it up and dishes to the other. And it just makes them especially damaging because they're able to put incredible pressure on teams. And if they get a steal or a loose ball, they are off to the races in the transition game and will punish you, which is evident in the games versus their best competition. So that I'd say that be games versus USC, TCU, Utah, and Texas. So in their wins in US versus USC and Texas, in those games they had versus USC 21 turnovers and they got 22 points off those turnovers versus Texas 23 turnovers with 24 points off those turnovers. Now versus TCU and Utah, versus TCU only had 16 turnovers. They still got 22 points off those turnovers. Versus Utah only had 19 turnovers, but only got 16 points off of those turnovers. So that's the key in those games. The other thing to note in those games, versus TCU, they were up by 14 points. Versus Notre Dame, they were up by 9 points. Versus Texas, which was a win, but they were up by 10 points, but Texas was able to push that to overtime. The thing with Notre Dame is they get on you at times and can go on big runs. Mark Campbell of TCU said it best. They struggled initially to go down by 14, and he said it takes a while to adjust to their pressure. They're on you so quick, and after about a quarter, you can adjust, and you can claw your way back.
This team is so explosive and athletic, and they made us uncomfortable in the first half. In the transition, our defense wasn't accustomed to this speed, and so at halftime, we said two things. If we take care of the ball and slow down and run our stuff, it'll give us a chance to get back. But if you guys keep taking bad shots and turning it over, we got no shot. And so that was really not any big fancy adjustment, but it's kind of like a boxing match. You got to feel them out during the first half, and then at the end of the day, the good teams make the adjustments at halftime.
That's their most effective style, is getting turnovers, getting in transition. That's when they're best. When you get them in a half-court game, you have a better chance because you're hoping that they're not shooting well, and that really gives you a good chance because they're just not that big inside. It was interesting. Versus Texas, they actually went zone defense, which worked in some ways to their advantage because they shut down Texas' inside game, but at the same time, it seemed to slow down the pace and allow Texas to sort of get slowly back into the game. So that's sort of you have to play Notre Dame the long game, and even if you get down, just keep on, much like Dory, just keep on swimming. You just have to keep on playing and try to hold on to the ball to get back into it. And that's the other thing, because Notre Dame can be worn down because really on the bench, they only have Prosper. Prosper's been up and down. She was good versus USC, but again, she's been up and down versus the other teams. And that's where UConn really has their big advantage. Even if AZ Fudd is out, they still have so much flexibility now in comparison to last season. Now, I anticipate the matchups to be as follows. UConn will play man-to-man defense, and Chin will be on Hannah Hidalgo, I think. Olivia Miles will be taken by either Ashlyn Shade or AZ Fudd if Fudd's able to play. And then Beckers, I think they will put Beckers on Sonia Citron. But I could see during the game them switching her up to Miles potentially. But yeah, I think Beckers will be on Sonia Citron. And then King will be guarded by Sarah Strong and vice versa if Notre Dame plays zone. And then it will be Ice Brady guarding Kate Cavall. With Notre Dame, I'm going to be curious to see if they come out in a zone defense or man-to-man. I suspect they'll try a zone. UNC had some success with UConn With the zone, if UConn is shooting well, then they'll have to come out of it and play man-to-man, which should be fun to watch. If it is a zone defense, then Sarah Strong will go into the middle and catch and shoot or distribute, and she's just made for that. Like, she made a lot of nice passes versus UNC, like one to El Alfie that El Alfie traveled on, and that's how I see it shaping up. But if I imagine it go the same way how UConn guards in man, so Citron would be on Paige Beckers, Hannah Hidalgo would be on Caitlin Chin, and Olivia Miles would be on Ashlyn Shade or AZ Fudd, and then King would be guarding Sarah Strong with Caval on Ice Brady. As I mentioned, UConn has flexibility, so if Caval's an issue for Ice Brady, they bring in Jana El Alfie. The other way they could go is they could go super small, or UConn could go small if Caval's not an issue, and have Sarah Strong play at the 5, and potentially bring out Morgan Shelley to play the 4. The other small option to go would be, again, Strong at the 5, and then Paige Beckers play the 4, and then have your guards Ashlyn Shade, Caitlin Chin, and KK Arnold. Now, obviously, when UConn met up with Notre Dame last year, Hannah Hidalgo killed them in pick and roll. Once Nika Mule fouled out of that game was over. I'm sure UConn players have been going over the film of that. I can't imagine what the coaching staff is saying to them about the pick and roll and how they guarded that last year, because it was brutal. It was like Hannah Hidalgo set up a house at the rim. She was getting to the basket so easily. If Ashlyn Shade struggles at all, I could see them quickly going to KK Arnold and using a combination of Chin and Arnold to match up with Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo, and I would assume KK would be on Hannah Hidalgo. If you watch the Texas game, Hannah Hidalgo blew by Rory Harmon. I don't know how good Harmon's knee was, but Hidalgo did a few in and outs, and it felt like she could get to the basket whenever she wanted against Harmon. That's the danger, and that's why small might not be a good option for UConn. Jana El Alfie might get more playing time than Ice Brady, just to have that presence at the rim and to make sure they feel uncomfortable when going to the basket. Now, other interesting things to look at in this game. How will Paige Beckers bounce back in this game? She did not shoot the ball well versus Louisville, and she struggled last year against Notre Dame. So she will be wanting to have a big game. Will she break out and have a massive game? The other one is, how will UConn handle being on the road in a tough environment with the crowd against them? They really haven't had that thus far, as most of their tough games have been on neutral sites, like UNC wasn't in North Carolina. Obviously, the crowd was more the UNC way, but they haven't really been in the opposition home in one of those tough gyms where you just feel the crowd on top of you. If forced to put money on this, I would go UConn, as the way they played versus Louisville, just very impressive. But I definitely would not put the college fund on it, because I could see a scenario where UConn gets overwhelmed in just one of those nights where they have to learn a tough lesson. Now it's over to you. Who do you have winning this game and why? What have I missed? What have I gotten right? All your comments and feedback are welcome. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day.